But what's also interesting is that the research that we have been able to tap into shows that when it comes to solving problems, particularly the kinds of problems that innovation brings to us, we all engage in a universal creative process. Now, if we don't have awareness of this, we do it intuitively. And really what it means is there's a heck of a lot going on in innovation from solving problems than just having ideas. And so there's a shift that we need to make in understanding that there's a creativity and a need for problem solving support in clarifying the challenge, developing the solutions, and actually getting them implemented. Well, what we've learned is that when we are faced with a problem, we all look at this differently. And as a result, it causes a lot of confusion when we try to get people in the same room to start to do work with us. So one of the biggest things we need to do is figure out how to quickly get everybody on the same page, focused on the part of the process that we're actually working in. Now, what we know, and we've been able to find this out, is through this partner FourSight of ours that we did the research with. They have a 10-minute assessment that basically will tell you how quickly, or will quickly tell you how you engage in this process. And what we found is there's 15 different profiles at play across these 4 different things. And when we went out and did the innovators study, we found some very interesting things about where people who are attracted to innovation like to spend their time when it comes to solving problems. So what we did was we were on 4 continents. We basically traveled with Hans and his team for a whole year. We went on 4 continents. We were in 5 cities. We also did an online program. People were invited to complete the assessment. They were told why we were doing it. They understood it was part of a study. We had over 400 people respond. And then we did, just for some fun, we did another group in Miami, and we had another 100 or so, but we didn't put them into the study because that wasn't part of the process. But the data continued to show the same thing. What we were able to do was take the data we collected from that, and we compared it to other studies that had been done about what are the functional groups in organizations doing in general in solving problems. So think about it like this. What's the profile of a thinker generally in the sales department? What's the profile of a marketer? What's the profile of engineering? And I'm not going to say that everybody who has that job function thinks in exactly the same way, but it does give us somewhat of an understanding about what's going on. And so we compared the results we got to 13,500 people in other job functions. And here's what we found. We found that functions in organizations think very differently when it comes to solving problems. Now, these graphs might not mean a heck of a lot to you, but here's the nutshell of it. Where you see a peak is a place in the process where each of those people has a high preference and an interest in solving problems. And in the other places, they're not so interested in solving problems, and it takes them a lot more energy to do that. Well, what we found was that people who are innovators realized that this was more or less what was going on. Think of what happens whenever you take your idea out into another part of the organization. Everybody looks at the same thing from a very different perspective. And so you're moving in an uphill battle every time you are working, doing innovation or trying to collaborate with another team, because you're fighting against their natural preferences for problem solving. You haven't gone to the trouble of making sure that you have a explicit process for problem solving and collaboration that you can draw on, and everybody is a little confused about where you are and what you're doing, and it's not a lot of fun. So here's what we found about innovators. What it said basically was that people who are attracted to innovation have a tendency to have a high preference to ideate. I kind of think it might have something to do about why we only seem to talk about having ideas when we're talking about innovation in this community. It's all about the ideas, but it's not. We've really got to make sure that we're paying attention to those other parts. And when we go out and talk to other people in the organization, we have to be talking from the place that they're coming from. So they don't want to hear about our idea. They want to hear details about what it is or what it means or what sort of things that you need to do. They want to have specs on what it is you want to do to have it built up, and they want to know the details about how you're going to get it implemented and what success looks like in the end. So there's a very different language that we need to start to talk to people about when we're going there. And so this is just another summary that says, you know, look at this, high ideation here, but let's take a look at the operational folks. They're very much focused on implementation. Let's take a look at engineering. They care about developing. Let's take a look at sales. They're in sale. They're implementers. People who are in IT tend to want to clarify and develop. And so, and your finance people, they don't care about your idea. They are at the absolute opposite scale of where you are. They want to clarify your data and look at your facts and find out how you're proving this. And then they also want to know how you're actually going to go and build it and get it implemented. So there's a different conversation you need to be having with each of these people to meet them where they are, but also to bring them to where you want to be. Everybody has the ability to flex in this process. It's just right now, people don't tend to know. If they don't have awareness of it, they can't flex. And so the load for doing that falls on you as the person who's leading the collaboration.